From the clash of wonder, stories burst. Voices rise, creators of the first.
Hey everybody, this is Discord user Slappy White with Radish Digital, that is digital with a J, and we are here with creators of the first, a roundtable discussion by your preeminent content creators for Wonders of the First. So honored to be sitting here and help moderate this discussion, and let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Capricorn.
So I'm Capricorn. You can find me at youtube.com/@quarantinecapricorn. I make a lot of content for Wonders of the First. A lot.
Awesome. Ben.
Am I next? I'm Ben, Be a Hero Gaming on YouTube. Check it out.
Grace.
I'm Grace.
Grace, I think you've got a little bit of, it's not just me, right, guys? She's coming to us from an alternate dimension. A little bit of a sound issue there on your mic, Grace.
You've been hit by the dimensional piercer.
Yes.
Sounds like for me right now.
Yeah.
Is it better?
All right. Grace, I'll tell you what, why don't you pop out and pop back in? This is live TV, of course, folks, well, it's going to be recorded, but some folks are catching this live. And this is what's great about live TV. You're going to catch it. But actually, Grace, you pop out, come back in. Sometimes that can take care of an issue. It's kind of like the old, turn the TV off and on. All right. And then finally, we have American Texan.
Howdy, howdy. I'm American Texan Plays on YouTube. I do content Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays for Wonders of the First, now exclusively, much to Ben, Be a Hero Gaming's pleasure. He's very excited to have to sift through all my comic videos now, so you can find me there. And I'm excited to talk about Call of the Stones today.
Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully we have Wonders Workshop, Carolina Girl back in a second, but we'll start off here with Capricorn. So first of all, Cap, is that there was the big announcement where there were 2 points to the announcement that the Wonders team just pushed out recently. One was that the set's going to be delayed, and then the second part was about the World Championship in Vegas. Let's start out with the set being delayed. And of course, the Call of the Stones, originally, when you go back to the original Shattering last fall, they were planning on doing the Call of the Stones a year later. It was going to be October, and then we heard the rumblings of November 7th through 9th. And the big announcement came out that they said February. And so what are your thoughts as someone like, clearly few people actually follow TCGs better than you? You certainly know TCGs and the schedule and the rhythm that they must have. So how do you feel about this, especially with it being a new game and this only being the second set being delayed?
I'm personally really excited about the delay. I was not in a rush to get to set 2. The little kid excited for Christmas morning in me is, but I love the idea that the existence set gets some more room to breathe. Even though it feels like it's been a while since the set came out, the set wasn't really supported with competitive play right out of the gate. It took all the way until August before we started to really see any kind of real competitive play emerge and start to see newer players that didn't know about the game from the Kickstarter start to come into the fold. So a lot of people are finding it for the first time right now and getting their hands on that first set. And we're just starting to figure out like what the meta is. We're a little bit behind on all of that just because of the way that the game launched and how long it took to get like the proper competitive play support. So I'm excited that we have a few more months of breathing room to really see how far we can take this set, to really dig into the meta so that when the next set comes, we have a better idea of how the cards in that set fold into what we already know from existence. So I'm actually really, really excited, even though, like I said, the little kid in me wants to see these cards ASAP, and I want to know what's coming, and I want to know how it meshes with all of my ideas that I have right now. The realistic human being in me is thinking this is very, very good. Like, we can bring new players in, we can have a number of tournaments before we're worried about this second set, and then really have a strong idea of the identity of the constructed play going into set 2. So I'm excited about it.
Now I see some nodding heads from American Texan and Ben, well, and Grace now as well. But does nobody disagree and say, listen, we have folks who have been excited for a year now, and what they want more than anything else is for someone to play with. And so the danger comes is those folks who were told just wait, wait a year, just wait a year, wait a year, and it's like, okay, now you're gonna have to wait 4 more months. Does no one think there's that's a significant risk to the existing community, or do you think that's not an issue because people have faith in the team and they think it's going to get here? February's fine. There's no difference between February and October. Just playing devil's advocate, does anyone think that's a concern or not really?
If I'm back from the fourth
I don't think
dimension,
it's that much of a concern. Grace, you go ahead.
is my audio working?
It is. You did a great job speaking over American Texan. I'm only teasing. Go ahead, Grace.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
American Texan.
No, go.
I think while there is going to be some upset about the delay, I don't think that particular issue is going to be as big a deal because we have play bundles. And these play bundles that are aimed and were designed specifically for the problem of not having to wait, there's nothing for people to play with, there's nothing to get new people involved with. The point of play bundles, the whole point of making them is so that people have something to play with. I think having Call of the Stones is kind of different, and the play boosters fill that gap that you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly it. February, it's less competition. You're not as busy, right? So, I mean, the holiday season, October, November, it's going to be a tough time anyways to get someone into a new game because they're already thinking about all the other new games coming out because it is holiday seasons. A lot of places are pushing. February is a place where you go where there's very little competition when it comes to overall competition in life, right? We have this saying at the school I used to work at, it was a private school, and the administrator would say, our competition is not other private school, our competition is Disney World, because when you're looking at private school tuition, you could go to Disney World every year and have a great time, and that's tough. And so I like that we're actually moving it out of the holiday season. I mean, it is tougher, right? Because that's an easy gift for our family and friends to give us for Christmas. But being in February, when it comes to onboarding new players, well, there's a lot more time for them to see more content that we're putting out. There's a lot more time for them to see what SCG is doing or has done. And so it gives them a little bit more of a reason to jump into Call of the Stones. And there's a lot less just entertainment, economic pressure going into February. So I think it's actually going to be very good for the player base as far as jumping in points.
I think what Slappy wants, though, is he wants someone to play devil's advocate, though. That's what he's looking for.
Well, that's what he's doing.
And I have to say, I was surprised because my initial knee-jerk reaction was, this isn't going to be good. This is not going to be good. People are not going to like this. People are going to get really upset. And then when I hear people like Capricorn and Grace and AT saying like, oh, it's good. I'm glad we get to check the game a while. And I started thinking like, oh, well, maybe people won't freak out about this, And I guess, one of the points was that the original set was delayed as well. But the difference was people had spent money on a Kickstarter, a lot of money. And so I think that's why people were really upset. They already had invested money. With this set, nobody's bought anything yet. And so I think that helped. And so I didn't really initially think about that until some of these other guys pointed that out, that nobody's paid any money yet. So, it's not a big deal. And we have a game. And we're still exploring it.
I think there's also the aspect, we were talking, I think, before we were live earlier about how there's some strong overlap with Boba and Bo Jackson Battle Arena and Wonders. And I know for some of the Boba players who were at Nationals, there was some struggle with the fact that Boba had Alpha and Alpha Update, and Alpha Update had come out like just a few weeks before and was legal in the competition, and some people didn't have access to the cards, and it was causing some like upset that it didn't feel like all the cards that people could play with were easily accessible. So I think some of that feeling of, okay, we don't have to worry about like scrambling to figure this new set out for a competition where money is on the line, like some of those players saw with Boba. I think there's probably a little bit of like a moment for people who went to the Boba Nationals.
Well, Capricorn, since she brought up Wanda or Boba, let me ask you about this though. Is we tend to look at it from the player perspective, but how do you think this delay impacts collectors? Do you think that the collectors are happy? Kind of like what you were talking about. Give this set its time, but do you think collectors are happy because they're still finishing up? We've heard American Texan, like, he's busy trying to finish his collection, and this gives him more time. Or do you think collectors are anxious and they are just, the majority of them are done and they want the next one? Because of course they're trying to build a community here that's part collector and part gamer. So I'll ask you all in a second how you feel this impact. Well, you guys kind of answered it on the player, but just from a collector standpoint, Capricorn, how do you think this is a negative or a positive, the delay?
I think for the collectors, it's probably a mixed bag. Although I actually probably think more of the collectors are upset about it than not. But I also think it's a little bit of an illogical sort of upset, because it's like they know they're spending X amount of money. They know they're going to get X amount of product. Like, does it really matter if you get it now or you get it in 3 months? There's feelings involved for sure, and the collectors they want it in their hands so they can see it and they can show it off and they can be like, this is mine. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be just as much theirs, whether they get it in February or they get it, in November.
I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here. I think the short-sighted collectors are going to be the ones that are upset. The long-sighted collectors are going to be like, I'm okay with this. The ones that are like and I mean this with all due respect, but the ones that are more hooked on collecting from a gambling aspect of, let me get some packs, let me see if I hit what I need, let me see if I hit what someone else is searching for so I can trade it. The people that are, spending probably not disposable income, more of income that should be spent on savings, those guys that are just constantly chasing that hit, they're going to be the ones upset because there's less collector product out there. So yeah, they are drying up for what they need. The long-term collectors, first of all, number one, they're so future sighted. They're the ones that, the people that I get frustrated with when they tell me, no, formless foils, I'm not selling this any for less than 300, even though right now they should be around 180 to 200, maybe 220 max, but they're living in the future. So they won't take less than 300. It's very frustrating, by the way, but I love you guys. They're okay with that. Number two, this whole collecting thing and like, what are collectors going to do for the next month? That all got thrown away with the Dragon Cup, because now the collectors that had their collection, that had one of everything, guess what? Now they're looking for 2, 3 of certain cards. They're trying to build a playable, competable deck, and that gives them something to do up until end of November. So they're not just sitting on their hands anymore like they were. Now they got something to do, and I think it just takes collecting to a whole nother level. So now they're no longer waiting 6 months for the release. They got something to collect. They got something to chase now for a couple months.
Grace, I think it looked like you had a light bulb when American Texan started talking.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking along the same things. I tend to do this so that I remember not to interrupt people, and so that I remember that I have a thought. And because in college we still have to raise our hands. I think that Wonders made a really smart, basically marketing / PR move, announcing those 2 things at the same time. And I think they knew exactly what American Texan is talking about. That the collectors who their collections were complete were getting antsy. And they didn't have a project to work on with Wonders. And when you don't have a project, when you don't have something you work on, that's when you start losing interest. So they gave you bad news and they said, okay, but here's the thing that you can do that'll keep you interested and keep you passionate about the game. And they timed both those announcements at the exact right time to like hook people and give them the good thing and the bad thing at the exact same time. And so I like the PR classes in me are going, that was some good planning there.
And you can really see that playing out in that everyone's talking about the decks, the collectors, the cup. We're not talking about the delay in the Discord. I mean, that is not.
But what you're not talking about is the collectors who suffer because of that. And those are the sealed collectors. And I know you're going to call me an investor. I'm not an investor. I'm not.
Listen. You are not anymore because you're opening those sealed boxes. When I see those cardboard boxes, I'm like, oh,
it totally ruined me.
You can collect cardboard boxes for so much cheaper. Just go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, and just buy a cardboard box. But
it's about what's inside the
video,
box.
Ben. He did throw you a bone in his video when he was talking about collectors.
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at Capricorn's got over there. He's got
you enjoy the
some
boxes.
nuggets. It's funny because my wife came to me the other day and she said, "Hey, I went to take the trash out, and the garbage can in the garage is full of wrappers." And I said, "Ooh, there's a good one." I said, "Yeah, I have to open these packs now because they made this tournament, and I got to get the cards out now." And it's mixed feelings because on one hand, I don't want to open my boxes. I want them to sit on the shelf and watch them multiply and become more and more boxes. But I'm opening packs and most of the stuff I already have, but then I'll pull something out that I don't, and I'm just like, oh man, yes, this is such a good card. In fact, I was opening some today. Like I got these in the same pack. This, nice. A Formless Foil Verdoncha, this in the same pack.
Hot Hands McGee over there. Come on now.
I got these two cards in the same pack.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was like, oh jeez, man.
I wish I had
so
your
when you open
that boat.
I know.
And I know he's whoever did this, Jeff, I don't know who did this. He ruined me because now I'm just hooked on opening stuff and I can't keep it sealed.
And you know what? I'm so glad that that's a side effect because I know Frenchie said like that actually was an intended side effect because I think some people are saying they think that the Formless Foils and the OCMs are underpriced for what they want them to be. I don't know if that's true or not. I can see where you're coming from. I don't know if I believe it, but I do know that he wanted more Dragon boxes, more boxes to be opened up because I think number one, if we can get the Emma Stone foil out, that's just a whole nother news cycle that we can really take advantage of and put wonders out there. What a great news story. Someone paid $25,000 for a card.
At every pack I open, I think it's going to be the Emma. Every pack this is it.
It's so much fun, man. It's so
not
much
really
fun.
Complex Compound Bow, Formless Foil. Darn it.
Hey, I'll take. Well, if I didn't already have one, that's one of the few Formless Foil mythics that I have. But me personally, as a dolphin collector, I love seeing all these things. Like I've already seen. You guys know I'm chasing hard a Nocturna of Umberthine. I only know of two that have been hit, and I don't know who one of the owners is. They bought it on eBay, but the other one is Legend. Now I know a third person ripping packs and they've got one. So now I know where another one is. So I love that we're getting some of these cards coming out there. And one of the reasons I collected Umberthine is because I know not many people are going to be looking for Nocturna for their Dragon Cup decks. So, I don't have to compete with the collectors trying to build decks with her. So these packs are getting opened up. Some cards are coming out. There's some supplies coming out. And I think it's just great for the overall game trading economy here.
Well, you guys have kind of you started dipping your toe into the actual World Championship in Las Vegas, so we'll get to it in a second. But first of all, I just appreciate everybody who's watching us live. This is being broadcast live on September 21st, Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern. I appreciate those of you dropping comments, including, it's funny, whether it's Bow Battle Arena or it's Wonders of the First, there is a segment that just believes in, the conspiracy theory that like, every major card's been hit and it hasn't been revealed yet. I think it's kind of like what they say about murder, right? There's no perfect murder because you have to tell someone. And so you can't, I can't imagine hitting the Emma and not telling anyone. And then that person not telling someone else and that person telling Ramel and then Ramel just tells all of us and
I can totally imagine it's sitting in a cardboard box or it's sitting in a 2-player starter kit and it's either been skipped, missed, or it just hasn't been purchased.
Somebody has it. Capricorn's shaking his head, but I think somebody has it.
That's my nightmare. My nightmare is it's in a collector pack in a 2-player starter kit. Some random person in Ohio is going to pick it up and have no idea what they have, and we'll never know it exists for all of eternity.
Go ahead.
I would hope the majority of our community seems like the kind of people who would tell us about these things, but also when the Emma is pulled, the effect that could potentially have on sealed boxes,
that's why no one said anything.
Exactly. And it's this moment of I hope and the way I view our community makes me think that our community would let everybody know because that is such an important thing. Yeah.
Does anybody know offhand how many of the prologue stone foils have been pulled or haven't been pulled?
0.
I was going to say, I don't think
so.
Any of
I
them.
know Quill has
none.
None. Yep. Yeah, and almost as if they forgot to put them in the boxes.
I blame Hush Money.
Know of.
Yeah. Well, so I will say though, Grace, when you talk about what would happen to the price of boxes if it gets pulled, I don't think that brings the prices down, because if you're from the collector thesis is that this is the first set of Wonders which you expect to have a long history. And so to have that first box is that I don't think when I talk to people who are interested in the dragon boxes, both the people selling and the people looking to buy, I don't know how many people I've heard say it's about the Emma. For them, it's just about, that's what's great about, right, a set with, over 400 cards, is that it's not just one. There's how many times have we heard about American Texan, which card he's going after? Like, we've heard about Ben talking about trading away a quill box for his card, and it's not an Emma. So you're looking at an audience here that the Emma's not going to move the needle for him. But it is interesting. I find the Dragon box, I'm neither a strong collector or player. I dabble in both. And the one thing that I've noticed about is that the original block packs community that got involved in Wonders is, Frenchie has always said, pick a lane that you're comfortable with. And for many of them, when Boba blew up this summer, it became too much. They couldn't do Boba in Wonders. And you add the complexity of the Wonders game. It's not brain surgery, but it's complex enough that you really need to focus on it so you can be decent to good at it. And a number of people said, you know what, this is it. This is my fork in the road. I'm going to choose Boba. And I noticed that a number of the collectors actually left, and that's a healthy thing. That's, it had to happen, and they can't support it. But what I find interesting is, in the Discord community, I see such a plea for, I want to be able to go into Target or my LGS and buy a reasonably priced product this weekend, and in 2 weeks, and in 2 weeks. And then that, to me, that's in contrast to the sports card collector who spends $500 on a Bowman Chrome Sapphire. And I don't see the TCG community saying, I'm going to spend $500 on a box with Pretty. Is like, I mean, am I wrong on that, guys? Like, I find that they want a cheaper SKU that helps them build a deck.
Okay, so you said you want to be able to buy a reasonable price box every week, every 2 weeks. I agree. I'm with you. What do you think is reasonable?
Well, right, and that's in the eye of the beholder. But I would say it's under $100. It's under $100 if you're going to do it every 2 weeks.
Well, hey, I just want to say one thing. Going back to what you were saying earlier. I mean, look at when the Magic the Gathering set came out, Lord of the Rings, and they had the 1-of-1 ring. People thought as soon as the 1-of-1 ring is pulled, nobody's going to want those collector boxes anymore, and it didn't happen. The ring was pulled, and the prices still went up because it was a good product. And I think the same thing is true for Wonders. I think the Emma comes out, the first comes out, the prologue cards, it's still going to be hot because it's a good product.
Grace, did you put your finger down? Were you saying the prices went down?
I remembered like the first little drop right after the ring was pulled, but I didn't follow much after that because I didn't have any collector bundle. Like, in Magic, I'm the player who walks in and I buy my little bundle, and that's what I buy, unless I like love the set, in which case I save up for a box of packs. But like, I buy a bundle and I'm done because that's where my budget is. But I remembered prices going down once the ring was.
I think it did. I think it did dip initially. I think initially it dipped, but I mean, those boxes now, if you can even find them, are $1,500, $2,000.
The second printing boxes, not the
both of them. The second ones are more. The second ones are more expensive for sure. I
was looking at the prices on them, and I thought I was seeing them closer to $900.
Okay,
but
well, after this,
we're not here to talk about Magic, so there's.
No. We do like to see, like, as an example of what it could mean for Wonders, and we can look in the comments because I'm sure someone's going to let us know what it is. But Capricorn, is that getting to the Las Vegas tournament, the World Championship. What I want to know, and I haven't heard people talk about this, but what do you see the audiences between the Stoneseeker World Cup and the Dragon Cup? I mean, I think it's kind of obvious to some people, but how do you see these two tournaments? When you look at these two, what does the Stoneseeker Cup mean to you, and what does the Dragon Cup mean to you?
My opinion on this changes daily. My first impression was going to be that the Stoneseeker Cup was the real competition. All the best players, all the best meta decks, they're going to be at the Stoneseeker Cup. And, the idea of a champion and what that means as far as the skill level and the meta and all of that would really be you'd be looking at the Stoneseeker Cup more so than the Dragon Cup. but things are getting crazy in the world of the Dragon Cup, man. Like, I put together a team, first formed. We've got 4 players. We got Bill Cott backing us, and we're putting together crazy decks. Like, I'm surprised how close we can get to optimal decks.
Wow.
With the restrictions. And then I know Sneaky Joe's got something in his back pocket that he's working on. I don't exactly know with who.
He's being
I know
sneaky.
there's Jordan and there's SubHub, and like there's more people than I expected to be working out deals that I think will end up with optimal decks. And I can't say for sure, this is all theoretical, but I'm kind of surprised at what I think it looks like the level of competition that's actually going to come to Dragon Cup. The caveat to that is I think there are going to be a lot more players signing up for the Dragon Cup that don't have optimal decks, more so than I think most of the community realizes, because I think anyone that just has enough OCMs that they can throw together, especially if they're not that great of a player, if they're just a casual player, but they're like, oh, I get $200 of my $250 back, and like, whatever, I'll just throw together all my OCMs and all my formless foils, and I'll just throw my hat into the ring and let's have fun. Like, it's not really costing me that much at the end of the day. Like, the entry promo that you get for the Dragon Cup is probably worth the $50 you end up not getting back from your admission. And so I think anyone that even just has the cards, just can pull together a deck, is going to throw their hat in. I think some of those people will make it into the top 8. But I do think more so now than I did at the initial announcement, I think there are going to be a few very, very good competitors at the top, maybe even the best players in the game, that are going to have very close to optimal decks that are probably going to take those top spots. So, like I said, my opinion on who's going to end up where and how many players each are going to see kind of changes on a daily basis. But I think at the end of the day, I think both tournaments are going to see more players than you might expect overall. I think you're going to see more players for the Dragon Cup that are just happen to have enough cards and are throwing their hat in. And I think you're going to see a lot of different people who are just good at the game, don't have all of the crazy serialized cards, and they're going to try their hand at Stone Seeker. So I'm hoping that's how it turns out.
Yeah. And I think initially I totally agree with Capricorn. I think initially everybody thought, who's going to be able to do this? There's going to be like 5 people that are going to put their 25 OCMs in. It's going to be, there's going to be 5 or 6 people. And then I think what happened was people started looking around and saying, well, maybe I'll pick up a couple more OCMs. Wait, you're going to buy some OCMs? Well, maybe I'll buy some too. Well, maybe I'll team up with someone that has cards. And I think it just blew up. And I think everybody got super stoked about the idea, and it just blew up. And I think Capricorn's exactly right. What initially started off with a handful of people, everybody wants to throw their hat in the ring now, and they're jumping on it.
I think there's also, I think what we're going to see, and I think Ben and Capricorn were kind of hinting at this, is that symbiosis that the Wonders team was trying to create between players and collectors. I think we're going to see a lot of the like really active members of the community, like Sneak Joe, and the really good players who are in the Discord tournaments, the Stone Seeker Society tournaments, the players that are consistently doing well, but might not have the collection to necessarily back their own deck. I think we're going to see that symbiosis start to happen, because collectors who don't play are going to want a player that they know and trust, and they're going to want to back them in the game. And we're going to start to see that symbiosis of, we know this player plays well, we've seen it, we know them, we trust them, and it'll just kind of snowball as more of those connections are made.
But that's the problem. Who do people know good enough to just be like, here's my cards?
Well, so that's where that extra part of the Wonders team is willing to, how did they phrase it? They're willing to vault your cards for nominal.
Oh, that's
charge,
right.
And then the person that you're sending just plays with their own cards, as long as so you don't actually have to give them any valuable cards. You just have to have the Wonders team vault.
I forgot about that.
So it's not like you're handing somebody here's your $1,000 to multiple $1,000 deck that you have to play. It's just, cool, I'm backing you without putting my cards at risk.
What I'm more interested in is when the deadline comes in. What I'm more interested in is when the deadline comes in. Because here's the thing. I think building decks at first we thought was going to be real tough. But, doing the math, 25 OCMs, just get 25 commons. It's about $600 on the floor, right, of what a common OCM is worth. Formless foils, everyone's saying, well, there's only 10 Nexuses. And it's like, yeah, but there's still some formless foils out there, that are non-OCM that you can use or play with. So I get it. We're going to have, I think Cap's right, 10 to 12 perfectly optimized decks. Everything else, I think there's going to be another 10 or 12 that are going to be sub-optimized, and then we're going to get like 40, 50, 60 unoptimized. Let's just get whatever cards we have. There are, as we know of, about 180, 200 stone foils that are hit. Do you remember, Slappy, how many that we know of?
Yeah, it was 125 when I stopped tracking around August 1st.
Okay, so we're probably a little bit less than that, 150. Let's say half of them get sold, traded, rented out. I mean, I know folks that have like 5 stone foils and said they would rent them out or be willing to trade them, to get someone else a ticket or whatever. So I think we're going to see a lot more people entering in. But what I want to see, I'm here for the reality television show that is the deadline comes up. Is it going to be all the way to the day? I hope not, because if we get a month out, let's say, okay, you got to be registered, you got to have your cards, at least, get them in the vaulting process, whatever it is. And the players say, our collector has not been able to get the deck that we want, so we're going to pull out and we're going to go to the Stone Seeker Cup instead of the Dragon Cup. Or can they say, we got until the day of, and then the day of, they say, you know what, you didn't really get the deck that I feel like I can win with, and I want to win. I want to get top 8. I want to get top 4. I want to get top 2. And I don't think I can do that with this Dragon deck. So I'm going to go play in the Stone Seeker. Well, what's the collector going to do then? Are we going to have some ringers coming up? I think it's going to be very interesting when we get to that point, if that point is going to come to head that way. I think it's very interesting. The players that are being tapped. I had a collector message me, and I was like, dude, I am humbled, but I'm not going to be. There's plenty of other better players out there, and I feel me as a player. I'm not there yet to be worthy of representing a collector, but I feel much more comfortable being in the Stone Seeker. So I'm curious who else is going to feel that way, if that's just an American Texan thing or if that's other people. I mentioned, I don't know if players are going to want to be, get all the glory for themselves and play with a highly optimized deck that they've been playing with versus, hey, even if you know what deck you have today, you've only got 60 days of practice with it. I'm very interested to see what that is. And some people will feel more glory in the Dragon Cup. They'd rather drive NASCAR sponsored by someone else rather than, go, drag race with a car that you built yourself and drag it down on the quarter mile that way. So I'm very interested to see and what that deadline is going to look like to getting there and see what the brackets end up being. Because again, I think it's going to be two different types of players. The risk mitigators, which I try to be myself, playing in the Dragon Cup, or the ones that want to play with the deck that they tuned up against another deck that they know is either going to be meta, anti-meta, or at least some kind of standard deck that they've played against, so they have a little bit more confidence going in there on the Stone Seeker to play constructed decks that way.
Now, American Texan, you didn't bring up the prize pool, which is interesting. Like when you talk about
that's another part of it too.
It is, of course, the $25,000 is actually going to the Stone Seeker World Cup, and the $100,000 is going to the Dragon Cup. And God bless you. And that's now, of course, people. It sounds sexy, like if you win it, you win 100,000. But the reality is that's spread among several people. So that's not what you're going to win. But obviously, there's much more money to be had in the Dragon Cup. It's now American Texan is that I think, but based on what Capricorn talked about, he's going to be there. He's going to be there in Vegas. So is everybody planning on being in Vegas?
I'm not going to be there.
Okay. Well,
I'm only going to, so the deal with the wife, because for us, conferences is money, right? When I go to conferences, I'm expected to come back with more money. The only way I can be confident in that is if
and you're good.
If I win in Houston, then I'll know that I can probably go and do something good. The other way too is if they invite me to work. So if they invite me to go commentary or run production, or I don't know, I'd even go serve water if I need to. But it's just another trip already inside of conference season. I'm going to be gone a lot, and it's just tougher to say I'm going to go some states over for a card game versus a business conference where I can actually make money.
I think
it's just our family culture here.
You could join Team First Formed, and we could get you trained up real quick.
No, you
I
have too many. No,
I
you're too strong
do
already.
appreciate that. I do appreciate. I would love to practice with you guys, but again, I'm still not there as a player.
I'm thinking there's some
more
jeans
time.
you can buy in Vegas, and you could probably flip those, and you can make. We heard about that last time, American Texan. So you
Man,
can
I
make
haven't
that trip
flipped
work.
jeans in a long time, man.
Grace, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's also, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like Thanksgiving weekend, or like right
The
near
weekend before.
So there's also that. Like that's part of the reason that I can't go is like it's too near holidays. It's the weird season of like there's a lot of stuff going on in that part of the year that I think will prevent some people from going as well. In the sense of like where do the priorities lie? Like I can't fly out from school with like 3 weeks left in the semester. Like I just can't do it. And I know most of the people playing aren't college students, but there's going to be that like everybody has different kinds of commitments. And I think that the time of year is going to have an impact on that versus like Boba Nationals was in the summer.
And Grace, let me ask you one question. You're not going to be there, but we were just talking about Dragon versus Stoneseeker Cup. And of course, the decision was made. You have to pick one. You cannot enter both of them and compete. And we haven't talked about that. So do you support that decision, or do you feel it should have been opened, or do you feel that would have just been, it's the same group of people essentially, and people are just, it's redundant to do that?
I think one thing that is worth pointing out is they didn't technically ever say that you couldn't be in both. They just scheduled them for the same time. At least I don't think that it was ever written as a rule that you couldn't be in both. Which is an interesting wording choice. I think that it works out. I think that the way that it is planned and the way that they're marketing the Dragon Cup, it doesn't make sense for you to be able to be in both. I think whether or not I agree with that decision is its own thing. But like if the Dragon Cup is supposed to be the luxury competition, it definitely creates this need having it at the same time to force people to collaborate, to force this interaction that they were trying to create between players and collectors.
Well, we can't have Capricorn winning both competitions.
So also, that it
has to be separate.
It prevents somebody from coming in and like swooping both competitions.
You can only watch Capricorn and Sneaky Joe so many times in the top two before you're like, come on, guys.
I watched it a couple of times. I hear the best players get their tips all from Capricorn. So I've been watching his videos to get the tips.
You bring up a good point. So like within the team, within First Formed lately, we've been talking about like, who do we send to what tournament? You know, our initial plan is to go to Dragon Cup and to go to Stoneseeker Cup. And we're more focused on which decks we have, getting the decks ready, and what decks go to those tournaments rather than what player goes to each. But one thing I do want to point out, I want to make sure that whichever one Sneaky Joe is in, I have to be in it. Because if I win in a tournament that does not have Sneaky Joe, I will feel like a paper champion. It will not feel right. He's the only person that's been able to beat me face-to-face post-shattering. We're not going to count the shattering. We're not going to go there.
The shattering.
That was a bad showing for me constructed. But I am sad that Grace isn't coming to Vegas because Grace was one of my first opponents ever with the actual physical cards playing this game. And she really put me through my paces in sealed.
That still might be the most fun game of Wonders that I have ever played. I think we played.
It's not the same. It's not the same without you there. Orlando playing sealed with no Grace. It just didn't have.
And I think Capricorn, you're coming at it from a different. Capricorn's coming at this as like a pro player. Capricorn's like, I mean, when he came out with the whole team thing, I mean, my mind was blown. I was like, okay, well, I'm so far behind. He's got a whole team. He's got card sponsors and everything, and I got to put a deck together. And anyway, I think I don't know if the prize pool means a lot to you, or I just kind of feel like he's coming at it as a pro player.
I mean, all of it kind of means a lot. I think the legacy means the most. We were thinking about doing a team before all of this was announced. I was playtesting with Roaming Boss, who's an active member on the Wonders Discord now. He originally started out as someone that came from my channel that didn't know Wonders, and I introduced him to Wonders. and he was helping me play test decks behind the scenes for Orlando. And we were talking about it before even going to Orlando. And then my situation changed at the last minute in Orlando, and I was looking for roommates to share a hotel room with. And Bendless and Hanging Bananas were like, yo, come stay in our room. And then just hanging out over the weekend in Orlando, we got to talking, and I told them my idea that I had with Roaming Boss, and they were like, this is a cool idea. Let's be a team. Let's get shirts. Let's make play mats. Let's show up like we own the place, all in good fun, of course. But we had this cool idea, and then as soon as the announcement dropped, we're like, oh no, we have to make this real quick, because we need to get a collector. We can't have the whole team show up and not be able to compete in the Dragon Cup because we can't scrape together enough OCMs. So we had to fast track the announcement and tell everybody what we were up to, and make sure to secure at least one really good collector. But I'm pretty happy with how things landed. I'm excited just from a fun rivalry perspective with potentially other teams that pop up, and just any way to inject personality and fun into all of this and get the collectors and the players on the same page together. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I'm excited.
Capricorn, I'm not familiar with the MTG world that well. And so in terms of this kind of friendly rivalry, is that similar to what you have in MTG, where people kind of know each other? It's a fun environment and you look forward to competing against them, but you also, you can sit down at the table and it's not cutthroat. It's, you enjoy the community with them, even if they are the competitor.
Not so much. That's my utopian view. That's how I want it to be. I never really made it super far into professional Magic. There was a time long ago where I thought about it and I pursued it a little bit, but I could tell really quickly just how try hard it was, and the community wasn't as nearly as supportive as the Wonders community is. It's very you have to know the meta. You're disrespected if you're not playing meta and you're playing off meta, and it's very salty attitudes, and they don't talk to you very much, and they're stoic, and it's very cutthroat and business like. I'm excited about some of the good parts of competition, and maybe it feeling business like, having money, having prizes on the line, all of that, but that growing out of a community that already supports each other so much and has so much fun. So the reason I'm going so hard on this game is because it's everything I wish Magic was, and it isn't. And I'm like, well, now I don't need Magic. I have this. And so I'm going to go all in the early days before it's too late to go all in.
The thing that makes me nervous though is I don't want to come to the competition and have things get heated with my opponent or me, have me freak out because this big thing is on the line and you work so hard to put this deck together. And so I'm a little bit nervous for how is this going to play out. I hope people can stay amiable and it doesn't turn into that, but
it'll be fine. It'll be fine. There's always a danger of that happening in the long term, but in the short term, you got to remember, Magic players have to go through qualifiers and invitationals, and they struggle and they work for so much longer to get to a position. So it feels a little worse. With this, it's the ground floor. We're all just showing up, putting down our decks, let's go, let's see who gets it. And I feel like even though there is an air of seriousness to it, there's an equal air of just camaraderie and fun to it, because everyone's just kind of shooting their shot. They're not as invested time-wise into it. You didn't have to qualify. You didn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops and make travel arrangements to multiple qualifying dates and whatever the case may be. We're all just showing up, throwing our hat in the ring, having a good time, and see who comes out on top. And
that culture of
that'll
Magic,
make it better.
That culture of Magic has taken decades to build up.
Yeah.
It didn't start that way. It didn't just happen overnight. I mean, that culture was built up to stay this way, and it's going to take a lot to change if we want. Whereas we are building the culture that is Wonders of the First. There's an old saying that the Marvel card collecting community, it's not a game, but the collecting community of Marvel cards is it's like one of the best, most giving, most camaraderie style community. And I think Wonders beats it. And other people that collected Marvel cards that are also in Wonders are saying the same thing. Like Marvel was the best community and Wonders is doing even better. So I think this is a great time for us to show up and be the change, as Ben might say in a video, be the change that we want to see in the card
I
collecting
just hope
community.
it stays. I hope it sticks. I
Yeah.
hope it sticks and endures.
Well,
Yep.
and
Go ahead, Grace.
so that I think our community is a huge piece of this, but I want to circle back to something that Capricorn said, because it set off a little light bulb in my brain that I hadn't really thought about. Capricorn, you mentioned that like whatever tournament that Sneaky Joe is in, you want to be in that one. And now that adds this level of what tournament are you going to be in? Are you going to play in? Because if all the best players go to the Dragon Cup, if somebody wants to win the prize for the Stone Seeker Cup and they want to guarantee their win, they can look at where people are going to play and pick which tournament they feel they can best win in based on where the best players are. I'm not saying that that's what anybody should do, but there is that added complexity of, like, if I were dead set that I wanted to place first, I would choose to play in the tournament that you and Sneaky Joe weren't in, because I would know I'd have a better chance of winning. And so
not me. I want to take him on.
No,
I want to take him on.
I'm not saying that that's what I would do. I'm saying that if somebody wants to place first and they try to use that to their advantage, if these lists of who are in what are public, there's a whole additional basically meta aspect to picking what cup you're going to play in based on who's playing in what. Because we are such a close-knit community, we know who the best players are. For the most part, there's always going to be a few people who come out of the woodwork and just knock it out of the park unexpectedly because we're still growing. But because we are such a tight-knit community, we do have that ability to know, okay, here are the best players. They're all in this cup. If I want to guarantee my chance at a win because I need the money, I'm going to the other one.
Yeah, I really think like probably 6 to 8, the 6 to 8 best players in the game will have strong allegiances with some of the deepest collectors and will be at the Dragon Cup. But I think the rest of all of the good players are going to be jammed into Stone Seeker. And then everyone that can throw together OCMs is going to be filling out the rest of the Dragon. That's kind of where my head is at right now. And the numbers might not be exact there, but loosely that's kind of where my thought process is.
Things are changing every day, like Cap said. I mean, I think something one day and I think something another day. Like right now, I'm feeling, you know what? Maybe Grace is right. Maybe all the best of the best players are going to go play in the Dragon Cup, and the Stone Seeker becomes like the unofficial Bush League or the unofficial minor league. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to think, no, that was dumb. You know, it's just we just don't know right now. That's the fun.
Is there an extra level to the psychological meta where like you don't sign up right away and you wait until the last minute so that no one knows which one you're going to be in?
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be so interesting when they put the deadline on what you want to go in.
Like,
yeah,
no, you might not get a spot if you wait. It might fill up and you won't get a spot.
Somebody's going to play the game.
That's true.
Though,
We're collectors. We know what
that
that is. We know what that means.
But is it filling up? Is it capped? Did they announce caps?
So we don't know.
So what happened with and again, I want this to be about Wonders, not to talk about Boba, but since it's the team behind Wonders, they also kind of designed the national championship. As someone who was there at the national and with the Boba championships, to answer your question, Grace, is that they had a number of tournaments at national for Bo Jackson Battle Arena. And on the lower tiered ones, when you signed up absolutely through the cardio site, which is what they use for Wonders and Boba, you could see who is signed up. There's 32 slots. You can see who's in that. And they had a couple of tournaments that went on at the same time. So you definitely could game the system and say, I only want to play in the Blizzard one because I can see who my competitors are. For the Apex tournaments, the Apex Playmaker and Madness, the solo and the team event, is that they actually didn't share that information. We had no idea how many other teams and who they were. So you wouldn't know that information. I think they don't want to give that competitive edge to anybody. So they want to introduce that. I do think I think what's your point, Capricorn, you said something about what's interesting is, you know, with Magic, that you have to qualify and go through all these rounds before you get to the championship. I think that's this is intentional on the part of the Wonders team. Frenchie is someone who he hates hearing complexity. He likes depth. And there's a big difference. Complexity is people can't understand it. It's not easy to do. There's a gate to participation or understanding. He doesn't want that. But Frenchie from the very beginning he's always been, I've noticed the community. If I could look in people's lives, I think everybody has like a jigsaw puzzle at home, or like some kind of like Escher type puzzle going on at home. Like people in the community that Frenchie builds, they like solving things. And so Frenchie always has something like he wants these two tournaments to be blind. So he specifically said you can't be in them at the same time. Yeah, I mean, the team said it. So we have two different top 8. That's not it. It's part of the game he wants you to do when you're coming up with this. So it'll be interesting to see. When Boba happened, is that they didn't. Now I will say this is that they didn't cap it. They didn't say like there's only this many teams that can be in it, and so they just had it open until Sunday at 10 o'clock or something. Yes, Grace.
I think, and this I talked about this in my video that I put out I think last week about the Dragon Cup and the announcements. The big difference for me that I noticed, and kind of the one thing that I don't like as much about the Wonders, is that for Boba, you could win your ticket. And so that's not really a qualifier for nationals, but you could win the bow auto that got you in. And I know that it's set up a little differently in like luxury tournament versus what's best, but I think there's a part of me that like wishes that whatever the ticket was to the Dragon Cup, you could have won that ticket at the SCG cons leading up, so that it felt more, I don't know, accessible is the right word, but it felt easier for people to get in by proving that they could be a good player at conferences leading up. But, that's just my thoughts.
I feel like their plan for next year might be, and I don't know any of this for sure, but I feel in my heart of hearts that eventually there's going to have to be, qualifiers and invitationals. If you have 10,000 people wanting to come to a tournament, like you're not going to just open it up to the first 64 that happen to hit the button the quickest, so eventually, I think this game will be big enough that they'll have to do that. And I think long term, that might be, I think that'll feel a little bit better as far as kind of the split between the Dragon Cup and the Stoneseeker Cup. If you have to earn your way into the Dragon Cup by being a staunch collector and going deep into the collection and having the cards necessary, and that's how you earn your way into that. And then the counterpoint to that is earning your way into the Stoneseeker Cup by having to qualify, having to prove yourself in regional events. I think that's probably eventually where we end up once we have a big enough player pool where we have to go that way. And that's kind of exciting to me that there's two different avenues to be a part of two big events.
I think that'll help it feeling earned. Like, I think there's that lack of feeling earned right now, which feels weird for national competition. Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's actually a genius move for the team to push so hard into this competition, because I think there's a lot of collectible card games that come out and people just think, oh, it's going to go big because people want to collect it and play the game. And that's it with their buddies. And sure, that's part of it. But I think these tournaments really get people excited. And like Capricorn was saying, I think there is going to be one day when there are going to be 10,000 people wanting to sign up, just because this big push for these SCG Con tournaments excite people. It's exciting to go there and you people you chat with, the people to talk with, you get to see them there. You get to place your deck against theirs and see how it shakes out.
You're right. We got to also think about Dragon Cups in the future, right? Where this could become the Dragon Cup is the premier top 8 players. I mean, let's not even think about Cap. I don't want to put any ideas in Bill Cott's head. Maybe you want to put this in his head, but there could be a point where the collector says, not only are we going to split the prize pool, maybe eventually it becomes 60-40, 60-30 because the prize pool gets so high or not. But maybe even a collector says, hey, I'm going to put a cash incentive. I'm going to give you like a signing bonus. Like, hey, play for me, sign it. I'll get you a bonus, right? Then this Dragon Cup really does become the premier lead where you got your
Right.
Jeff Gordons and Dale Earnhardts. And the Stone Seeker is, well, you know what? I just like to play the game. You know, you can consider it the minor league. You can consider it differently. But I think in the future, it's not only going to change how the tournaments are, but also how collecting is, right? Because now you're not just collecting for a set like me, but like you're collecting for the possibility that I need to have a deck ready in November. And that's just going to drive up the prices higher because we have such low numbered on serialized. It's going to make formless foils even more of a, for lack of a better term, sexy chase, you know, for those collectors. I think this does a lot of great things for the future of the game in both collecting and playing. I like the idea of having that qualifier or somehow earn, you know, the thing. But also, I mean, I hope we get to the point where we have several tournaments going on. So the Stone Seeker Cup is like the top 64 players battling it out, but then you've got other, you know, cups underneath it. You know, you got like the 200cc Mario Kart Cup going on, and then you got 150 and then 100 and then 50. And, you know, you got all these tournaments going on underneath and brackets of different level of players or different proofs of play. Kind of like chess, right? You've got the Grandmaster competing, but then if you're under 1,500 points, you know, you're playing in a different bracket. So I think there's a lot of great things that we can do here. And the way Wonders is, you know, getting a collaboration between players and collectors that's unseen before, I think we can all agree is another reason that we fell in love with this game is it's not doing what other games are doing. It's not trying to be a better mousetrap. It's, hey, we're going to get the mice before they even get inside your house. I mean, this is such an innovation. I think what I love about it from a business standpoint and a creative standpoint, because I haven't played Magic since 2006, so I don't know what to compare it to. But when it comes to what they're building here, I am so excited for it.
Well, and there's also the room of growth of the different DBS leagues that I'm hoping one day we start to see that at, you know, these high level competitions of, okay, who's the immortal champion versus the Stone Seeker versus, because when the game gets big enough, that will, like, we'll start to see all of that, and it'll be a completely different kind of player that wins in Immortal versus in Vagabond. And that deck building skill will be really interesting to see, like, where do the best players go? Are they going to stay at this 1,000 level? And I think part of that will be, where does the money go? Where do the players decide to go as a whole? But as the game grows, I think we'll see more of that different levels of DBS play as well.
Well, one thing that Magic the Gathering does, and I'd be excited about Wonders adopting something similar in the future, is they tend to run like almost sort of like gauntlets where you'll show up and day one you'll play in a limited event, and that limited event, how you perform in the limited event will depend. It'll basically allow you to get a better starting position in the constructed event. And then the overall standings between all of the events over the weekend are what matter, that they feed into, like, you know, the final results. It would be cool to have multiple formats over the course of a weekend and have them all feed into the same results to really determine like one true champion. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. I did want to touch on one thing you guys mentioned about, you know, Cap, you were talking about having qualifiers next year because we'll have a lucky problem in the future of 12,000 people will all want to be playing in the World Championship. I know there was discussion at the Boba World Championship that next year that there would be qualifiers. Of course, this year you could just sign up. It'll be interesting to see. Of course, for the World Championship team event, there was actually no entry fee for Boba. There was an actual entry fee. It was only like $50 for the solo. But what's interesting with that $250 entry fee is that part of me thinks, like, as soon as they flip that switch, you know, people are going to be like, I'm signing up. I don't even have a ticket to Vegas. I don't know if I can make it. But I'm going to sign up because I want to be part of it. But that $250, right? Do I have a hotel? Do I have airline? Do I have my deck? And so it'll be interesting to see it happens. I did, while we were on the air, I did message a team member from Wonders and ask them, can you share how are you going to open it? And they said soon they're going to share. They can't share any details tonight, but I wanted to know, is it going to be like Boba where it's just open until, a deadline and however many teams, that's what they're going to do, or if they're going to announce how many it is. One thing I do want to say is somebody who's followed Frenchie's project since 2021. I stress this to people all the time, but for people who are watching this and are in the Wonders community, I cannot stress enough that you need to make it to Vegas, and you need to scrape every OCM you can to make it into this. Because one of the things that Frenchie is known for is he always rewards the people who are there at the beginning and they're most loyal. And Frenchie also, you combine that with somebody who always wants his things to succeed. He is hugely competitive in terms of he wants his projects to succeed. How do you make your project succeed? He doesn't let failure stand in his way ever on any project, not in the beginning phase. It might fail. It might not be the right model and he might have to pivot, but in the very beginning, it will succeed and he will do whatever it takes to make it succeed. And so if you can get there and you can enter this tournament, you must do it because there'll be benefits. There'll be, whether it's the promo card or whatever else you're going to get for entering it, it's just worth it. And for instance, that in the Bow Battle Arena, I mean, we had, in addition to the promo cards we got there, in addition, like our team we were one of those teams that Capricorn was talking about. Like I convinced my friends, I'm like, listen, we can qualify for this. Let's just do it. We're not qualified to win, but we're qualified to enter. We came away with almost $5,000 for our team. And that was just by being there, not including the other things, not to mention things like Carlton Fisk, a Hall of Famer baseball player. He escorted us in. He was hanging out with us while we were playing. That was also part of and what is Wonders about? It's about experience. So my point is, Jeff Frenchie is always creating an experience when you do that. So I know what you said, Grace, you got to make it out there. And like everybody watching this is that not only make it there, but you got to enter if you can.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't like that. I want to keep as few people in the tournament as possible. I don't like where you go with that.
I need Ben to open up some more of his sealed products and then maybe a sponsor.
There's some sitting over here waiting to be opened.
I got 4. I've been I'm not collecting OCM, so I just trade all my OCMs. I traded 2 more this week. I'm down to 4.
Slumpy, to the point that you're making about Frenchie, like going all in and not letting things fail. We started this talking about the delay, and I think that's one of those reasons that a lot of people aren't super worried about the delay, is because we have that trust that Jeff Frenchie is gonna make things work, and that there, every time we see that something goes wrong, we see that there's this support that comes from the team to make up for it. The Kickstarter being delayed, we got promos. I think the loyal friend, I think maybe was, but like they're always giving back to the community. They're always making sure that we're taken care of. That if there's a hiccup in the road, that they're taking care of us. And I think that's part of the reason that people aren't as worried, because they know that the team is going to deliver and they know that the team is going to take care of the community.
Well, this has been a great discussion about the Vegas announcement. Of course, it came out a little while ago and people have been digesting it. So I wanted to kind of just cover this topic after people have had a chance to really think about it. But Grace, is there, I don't want to cut the conversation short, but we've been on for about an hour. Grace, is there anything more that you want to add to the Vegas announcement or the delay, anything that you can think of? And the other question I'm going to ask all of you guys, what topic do you guys want to cover next? Of course, everything could change the next time we reconvene. But if nothing changes, what's the next topic you want to cover, Grace?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it could be really fun. I think it would be fun to talk about the alt arts for the play boosters. Spoiler alert, that's what my Monday video is going to be about. And there hasn't been a lot of discussion on where the value on those is falling. So I think that would be a fun discussion. I don't know. That's what I got. That's been on my mind lately since I've been working on that video. Yeah,
maybe I can take my 115 serialized alt art packs and I'll just put it behind me. And I can do that for that. Yeah. All right, that's a great suggestion. American Texan, anything more? I don't want to cut the conversation, but anything with the Vegas announcement, the delay, that you want to cover, or anything else?
No, because I'll just talk for another 20 minutes. I think we hit a lot of it. I think there's a lot of digesting. There's still a lot of news coming out It can feel sometimes like they're building the plane while it's taken off. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that, whether that's true or not. But I'm just excited for it. And as far as topics that I'd love to cover, I love talking with people about what their favorite thing about Wonders of the First is. Everyone has something different. I did a video on 3 things that I love about Wonders of the First, and everyone came out of the woodwork and said, I didn't even think about that. I love that. Here's my favorite thing. Everyone just, there's so much to the game is so simple and accessible, but once you dive in, it really becomes complex in the different ways that you really appreciate the game. So I just love to talk about what our favorite part of the game or favorite part of the collecting or whatever you want to call it, what we each enjoy specifically about it.
Great. Thank you, Texan. Ben.
I want to talk about what Capricorn has planned for his deck at the tournament.
I don't think we're going to pry those secrets out of him.
Touche.
Is this your way of asking me to join the team? Is that what's going on right now?
Just some hints.
He wants insider information.
I'll tell you right now, my deck is 20 points over the DBS. I'm trying to whittle that down, but it's going to get there.
Well,
here's my insider information. I watched over my video of the finals from Orlando, and I pinpointed my exact play mistake, and I walked my own brain through what I could have done differently, and I could have won that game. So that's as much as I'll give you. Go back and watch that video, and maybe you'll get.
I've watched it twice already. I've already watched it twice.
But I'm excited just about the future of the game. I think I'm excited to talk about things that I can't talk about yet. I'm excited for everybody to find out. Most of us that are on this stream right now, we know some tidbits about what's coming and about how that information is going to be released. And we can't talk about that yet. But what I will say is, if any collectors out there are worried about the delay, you're going to forget all about that as soon as you see what's coming, because you're going to have renewed reason to be excited, and it will be worth the delay. And I also just want to say that, like, it feels in a lot of ways kind of like a relaunch of the game. What they're planning to do with the next set is so ambitious, not just as far as gameplay or just as far as marketing or just as far as collecting or just as far as SKUs or just as far as accessibility, but in all of it, that it really does kind of feel like the proper launch of the game. And I think a few years from now, we're going to look back on this first year of Wonders, those of us that were involved on the ground floor, and we're going to look back fondly, and we're going to be like, oh, remember those early days when everything was, nobody knew about this game? I remember. You remember those Radish digital streams? That was such a good time. I don't think anybody's ready for what's coming, and I'm excited to talk about that, but we don't know when we can talk about that yet. So for now,
talking about
I'll just have to settle for taking the crown in Vegas.
If you keep that smack talk, I may actually have to show up to Vegas and make it happen.
Come out. What do you need? What do you need to come out? I'm gonna get you there. I'm gonna figure it out.
Figure out housing and the ridiculous cost.
It's easy. It's easy.
All right, everybody.
Talk to Roaming Boss. He lives there. Sneaky Joe lives there too. Well, I'll bunk at Sneaky Joe's.
Yes, we will.
All right. My camping equipment.
This is Discord. This is Discord user Slappy White with Radish Digital. That's digital with a J. This is Creators of the First. Honored to have Capricorn with us. Of course, Ben with Be Hero Gaming, American Texan, now American Texan Plays, and of course, Grace, Carolina Girl, Wonders Workshop. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and really appreciate the audience, all the comments. Have a great night.
Good night.
From the Clash of Wonders, stories burst. Voices rise, creators of the first. Capricorn charts the stars with might, guiding seekers through the night. Be a hero, Ben breaks it down. Gaming wisdom all around. Every card, each pack reversed. He's a guide, creator of the first. Creators of the first. Wonders, wisdom quenched our thirst. Together we shine, community blessed with the creators of the first, with the creators of the first. Wonders Workshop, Carolina girl brings light, sharing secrets, shining light, sharing secrets, shining bright. Knowledge deep, her voice rehearsed, a championed creator of the first. American Texan plays it true, passion for the game shines through. From the heart his insights burst, a leader, creator of the first, creators of the first. Wonders of wisdom quenched our thirst, together we shine, community blessed with the creators of the first, with the creators of the first. When the packs unfold and the stories call, these voices rise to guide us all. Wonders keepers, friendships nursed, we stand with creators of the first, creators of the first.